Hi everyone, today we are talking about future phones. Yeah, I'm not talking about 2 or 3 years, I'm talking about, let's say, 20 years. 20 years from now. How will phones look? How will they function? Will they still be simple slabs that we know of today? Or will they be very different? Like foldables, or maybe a more advanced foldable. What do I think a future phone will look like? That's a big question. In 20 years, that's a big question. One of the things that I will see in terms of growth is a foldable phone. Not as we see it today, not what Samsung is producing, who is currently the top leader in foldable phones. No, I'm talking very different. For instance, a phone that is pretty much small enough to go around your wrist and then extend it further via rollable display screen technology and whatnot. This is something that I do see happening. This way you can have a phone that is actually quite small, but extend it if need be. And of course I expect that technology to be so much better that it's of course better protected to, for instance, scratches. That is something that I truly see happening in the future. Other than that, let's go really in depth and something that is quite outlandish. It's a lens possibly. Just a contact lens that you put in your eye and it has AR features. And it has like a little box that you put on the side of your head, not in your brain. You got those things that you put in your brain to help you out. I don't want things in my brain. Well, my brain I want there, but other than that, I don't want mechanical things in my brain, but just on top of your head. Okay, just right there or the other side, it doesn't really matter, and helps to signal something to your contact lens, or maybe something that allows you to, for instance, do voice calls, track where you are. Or maybe just more extended AR. Now recently I started playing this game and I already had the idea beforehand, but it's called Horizon Zero Dawn, and they have like something on their head without a contact lens, and this gives you an AR signal and it allows you to actually do things with that as well. Now that would be quite cool if you have something like that, and would be really funny is actually seeing everyone typing just in the middle of the air and doing things around them and just pressing random buttons and you're like, what are you doing, dude? Anyway, I'm joined by some other YouTubers and we're gonna talk about what we want or think a future phone will look like. It's quite an interesting topic to talk about, and of course, leave your opinion below as well. What you think a phone will look like in 20 years or what you want it to be like. Either way, let's dive into this video.
Hey guys, Daniel from ZONEofTECH here. Hey Jermaine, thank you for having me. Let's see, phones in 20 years. I think that in 10 years max, foldables will be the new norm. Foldable smartphones, foldable tablets, all in different shapes and different sizes. And I think that 10 more years from then, AR will be the new norm. AR glasses and just AR experiences in general. I think that we would finally start saying goodbye to just a single slab of glass and start saying hello to a fully augmented reality instead. I know it may sound a bit too sci-fi, but take a look at smartphones that we had 20 years ago in 2000, the Nokia 3310, and now compare that to the foldable smartphones of today. So I think it's doable, and I hope that this is what we'll see in 20 years time, because AR is, it's really cool. Like, I'm a massive fan myself, and I just cannot wait for the future.
So first of all, I just want to say thanks, Jermaine, for having me on this episode. And the idea of a futuristic smartphone has kept me up for countless nights. I really can't think of something concrete. Sure, I can imagine a phone the size of a Tic Tac that expands to however big you want it. I can imagine a display that's so bendable you can just shove it in your pocket. But what I really truly feel right now is the best thing to do is focus more on the mid-range and budget sector. We're pushing into foldables, and as cool as they are, they're not life-changing. They might change the way you work a little bit, but it's not gonna completely change the way you work overall. You're not gonna get data faster. You're not gonna learn more quicker. It's just a different form factor to switch between casual and business, perhaps. The other thing is that I think we're seeing this big push to really good budget and mid-range smartphones, and I'd love to see the future incorporate more of that. All these high-end features you see on these $1,000+ flagship phones are trickling down into a lower price point, and I want that to be accessible to the entire world, because quite frankly, it's getting so difficult to recommend a $1,000 smartphone when 99.9999% of the features are readily available in a $500 smartphone. So what I want is a premium $500 smartphone with all the same features that these expensive flagship phones have at a much lower price point. And I think that would be a better future than some crazy foldable device that just expands into a tablet. Thank you so much for Jermaine for having me on, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
So it's hard to imagine phones even like 2 years ahead. But when you think 20 years, that is such a huge leap in technology. And there's a couple things that I'm excited about and that I would want. So the big one is battery technology. Moldable batteries, movable batteries that can change different form factors will enable sort of brand new ways to use phones. And I think what we consider phones right now will certainly not be what phones are going to be in 2 decades. They're going to be multi-function, multi-purpose devices, smaller pocketable devices that unfold into tablets that can be docked for larger screens to get a desktop, laptop type experience. You won't have any notches or camera holes. Everything will already be completely invisible. The camera technology is going to get absolutely insane over the next 20 years. Things like holographic displays become possibility. Even sort of taking those extra sensory things like smells could be coming out of your phone and textures. You could have keyboards that can rise out of the screens to create physical things you can touch and then recess back into displays. The potential is awesome. And even if we get to a future that is just truly foldable with multiple folds without creases and hidden notches and bezel-less displays, I am here for that. And I'm no soothsayer to say what 20 years from now is going to look like for phones, but I will say, I think it's gonna look awesome.
Hey guys, Roger here, and as far as smartphones in the future are concerned, well, I think we'll see perhaps Apple opening up iMessage and FaceTime to Android users. I'm joking. But things like Harmony OS I think will become extremely popular if it does actually get off of the ground. Perhaps there'll even be slightly more competition in terms of operating systems. 20 years is a long time, and a lot can change between now and then. But in terms of handset designs, I think foldable handsets are the way forward. And I really do think we'll see the market completely flooded with all kinds of foldable handsets and much larger displays than what we currently have. Perhaps the bezels will be much thinner, and perhaps the screen technology will be a lot better, especially when it comes to that join in the middle or the crease down some of the existing foldable phones. Something I've always imagined with a smartphone is some kind of holographic display, and whether or not that will actually be here in the next 20 years, who knows? But the way things are going, I do think it's very possible. Thanks very much, Jermaine, for having me on.
So huge thanks to Jermaine for having me on this video. He makes amazing concepts for all of us to enjoy, and having like a visualization of products that we are hoping to see in the future. And in terms of what I would like to see in smartphones 20 years from now, I think it's gonna be very interesting, because to be totally honest, in 2020, phones are like quite boring. They're all very similar. Companies are releasing just so many that it's actually very hard to keep track with in the industry. And processors are more powerful than they need to be. Screens are impressive, but it still seems like the one thing that is bottlenecking a lot of these devices is batteries. The battery life is just not good enough, and that is one of the reasons why Apple didn't put the 120 Hz display in this year's iPhone, and I do feel like having 120 Hz is a noticeable improved experience. So I think 20 years from now, with all of like the technology that is going into like electric cars and all that, I really hope that smartphones get a little bit of that innovation in the hopes of batteries being much better than they are right now, to the point where it doesn't really matter and it's not something that we have to think about anymore. And I think fast charging has really kind of led that direction of where it's gonna go. In other words, I think cameras are gonna continuously keep getting better. DSLRs are gonna slowly become replaced from a consumer perspective, and also point and shoots. Video recording is getting better, especially on the Apple side, and displays are gonna be like foldable, edge to edge, and like all these little hardware limitations and durability related things that we struggle with right now are hopefully all gonna be gone in 20 years, but it's gonna be so interesting to see, because as someone who is 23 right now, 20 years ago is when phones like barely existed and smartphones were like still like a brand new thing. So it's really hard to predict an entire lifetime ahead from now. But that's pretty much what I have to say, and a huge thanks once again for having me in your video.
So, how do I see smartphones in 20 years? Let's see.
240 Hz refresh rate, definitely. No headphone jack, for sure. I'm sorry, Jermaine, I know you love the headphone jack, but it's not gonna be there. Trust me. How do I see the smartphones in 20 years? I see current smartphones as vessels for something that is yet to come. Meaning that we are currently carrying a device with us that serves the purpose of a smartphone, but to me, smartphones in 20 years are gonna be a set of things. And the current smartphone will not exist in the way that it exists today in its physical form. What I mean is that right now we use our smartwatches to glance at notifications and see what's going on. We're definitely gonna have augmented reality glasses, which will give us even more of this. So maybe the smartphones of the future are gonna be a combination of devices where you have, for example, a headsets or earbuds, which you use to communicate if you don't have anything integrated already in your head. And then you'll have, let's say, a watch, glasses, and whatever foldable device you have that you use to experience media. And probably interaction will be via voice assistants. So dictation or commands or stuff like that. So to me, the smartphone of today, no matter how great it is, it's not going to exist in its form as a one device, but it's going to be a combination of devices. At least that's how I see it. So in 20 years, that's going to be the new iPhone 32 and the Samsung 40 Ultra, I guess. Anyways, these are my thoughts on the smartphone of the future. Thanks for having me, Jermaine. It's been an absolute pleasure. Until next time. So, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and hit the bell icon, but not only for me, but of course also for the others. I will leave a link in the description for all of their channels and of course socials. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video, but also don't forget to leave your comment below about your opinion what a future phone might actually look like, what you want it to look like as well. Either way, hope you enjoyed and have a good one.